The Jaxson Dart era has begun for the Giants, and man, it is already looking very promising. Dart looked great in his NFL debut, helping the Giants, who were 0-3 coming in, beat the Chargers, who were 3-0. That is a big-time win, and they got to do it at home, and it was a close one. The Giants escaped with a 21-18 win, and suddenly there is some very serious hope for the Giants' future, and for Brian Daboll to actually have a chance of keeping his job. There was so much excitement coming into week 4 with Jaxson Dart slated to make his NFL debut after the Giants named him the starter, replacing Russell Wilson. The Giants were going nowhere and they were winless. They needed any kind of spark, and that is quite literally, I think, exactly what Jaxson Dart brought in week 4. He brought it from his first NFL drive. His first drive was, seriously impressive for a rookie quarterback. He came out to a huge ovation from fans, just going absolutely crazy for him, and he immediately delivered. Naturally, his first completion went to Malik Neighbors for a quick 7-yard gain. It was a beautifully executed drive in every way. Cam Scattaboo ran like a madman, exactly what you expect from him every single play, but Dart was also able to move around. He was able to use his legs, and he eventually capped off the drive that did only take 9 plays to go 89 yards, and he finished it off with a 15-yard scramble to score. It was a very, very positive start, but it was also a scripted drive. It gets harder from there, and it really did get harder from there. The Giants were able to hit 2 field goals to lead 13-10 at half, and the Giants defense played really well. They were able to contain Justin Herbert, which is definitely not an easy task. The Giants extended the lead late in the third quarter after Dart had his first passing touchdown of his career. Just a very quick shovel pass to Theo Johnson. Feels, discrediting to say it's a pass, but counts as a passing touchdown. Certainly nothing special, but it worked, and that was actually just the second play of the drive, because that whole sequence, the credit belongs to Drew Phillips, who picked off Justin Herbert, got very close to scoring, getting down to the Chargers' 3-yard line. That was actually the second interception with a big return that the Giants had. The big man Dexter Lawrence actually had one in the first quarter and rumbled down to the 3-yard line, but the Giants just couldn't get in the end zone. Second time was the charm, I guess, and the Giants went up 21-10 after a 2-point conversion, but then Omarion Hampton quickly got the deficit back to 3, breaking away for a 54-yard touchdown. They got the 2-point conversion, but that was ultimately all she wrote, with a lot of drama in between. The Giants had a turnover on downs deep in the red zone. The Chargers even had a chance really late, getting the ball back with just 18 seconds to go, but no timeouts. Easier said than done. Ultimately, it's a huge win for the Giants. Clearly meant a lot to Brian Daboll, who was absolutely fired up with Dart post-game. And look, if Dart can be the guy, Daboll might have a chance to keep his job. And Dart looked the part in week 4 at home. Finished 13 of 20 for 111 yards and a touchdown passing. He also rushed for 54 yards and a touchdown, making him the Giants' second leading rusher behind Scattaboo, who had 79 yards on 25 rushes. As for the passing game, Darius Slayton led the way with 3 catches for 44 yards, and he's going to have to step up now, along with Wan'Dale Robinson, because it sounds like Malik Neighbors unfortunately did tear his ACL during the game. Malik Neighbors went down with an injury trying to catch a deep ball from Jaxson Dart, and it was actually when he was going up for the ball, not when he landed, but he landed awkwardly, and it looked bad. He was clearly in pain in his right leg. Players were concerned around him. He had to get carted off, and sure enough, Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero have already reported that the Giants do believe it's a torn ACL. Looked bad, and that is huge. That is a huge loss for the Giants offense. He had 18 catches for 271 yards and 2 touchdowns this season, not to mention how dominant he was as a rookie, even while playing for a dysfunctional offense. He was the clear number 1 guy, went on to record 109 receptions for 1,204 yards and 7 touchdowns. He made the Pro Bowl. It is just very disappointing for him to have his season end so early, and hopefully it just doesn't hurt him for the rest of his career. That MetLife Field surface is just so awful. There needs to be some way for people to stop getting hurt there so often. Neighbors wasn't even the only important guy hurt in this game. Joe Alt got hurt too for the Chargers. Luckily, it does sound like he avoided a season-ending injury, but it feels so normal for stuff like this to happen at MetLife. At some point, they just have to tear up that terrible turf and put in some real grass. I mean, there have been so many injuries there over the years, pretty notably Nick Bosa in 2020, and then the biggest one was obviously Aaron Rodgers in 2023 when he snapped his Achilles. It's hard to say MetLife has so many more injuries than other stadiums because there are obviously double the games there, but it really does still feel like it. You know, there's always someone getting hurt on that turf, and losing Neighbors is really going to hurt an offense that doesn't have a ton of playmakers. The weapons that Jaxson Dart is going to be working with going forward are definitely weaker without Malik Neighbors. That really pushes Wan'Dale Robinson into the top role. He showed some solid promise at times this season, and now he's going to have to answer the call. I mean, he has 18 catches so far for 237 yards and a touchdown. Darius Slayton is suddenly the number 2. He's only caught 9 passes for 135 yards this year. It's really just not a very productive offense. I mean, taking away the top weapon is going to make that really, really brutal. Theo Johnson's the number 1 tight end. He has 9 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown this year. Then there's also injuries that are more than just Malik Neighbors. Tyrone Tracy came into the year expected to be the guy in the backfield, maybe to split some time with Scadaboo, but then he ends up suffering a dislocated shoulder last week, and he's going to miss 2 to 4 weeks. I mean, that's a big loss. It's opened the door for Cam Scadaboo. He's taken over, and at the very least, he's very fun to watch. He's rushed 48 times for 181 yards with 2 touchdowns. In all, I mean, it is just a weaker offense. It doesn't help that the offensive line hasn't been good. At least they have Andrew Thomas back out there at left tackle, but it's a bad offense for a rookie quarterback. The defense has a really talented pass rush, specifically with Dexter Lawrence at nose tackle and then Brian Burns from the weak side. The Giants, I mean, just when you look at the roster, they're not a team that should win a lot of games. They're not a team you'd expect to beat the Chargers for that matter, but Jaxson Dart really did bring that spark. I mean, we're gonna have to see what happens next with losing Malik Neighbors, but at least going to Dart is looking like it was a really good call. It was a disastrous season for the Giants before week 4 and flipping over to Jaxson Dart. Even after taking Dart 25th overall to draft, it was very obvious he wasn't going to be the week 1 starter. Jameis Winston got signed, so did Russell Wilson, and he obviously was the clear starter. You know, he was the guy for the first 3 weeks of the season, and there was some good, but mostly bad. They had to start against Washington, and the offense was just awful. It was 21-6. The Giants didn't even score a touchdown. It was just 2 Graham Gano field goals. Russ didn't play well, but honestly, it felt like the offensive line was collapsing way too fast for him to do anything anyways. Then there was week 2, which was a wild ride. Russ hit Malik Neighbors with 25 seconds left for a prayer touchdown to lead the game, but then Brandon Aubrey hit a crazy field goal to make it go to overtime. Russ had a really bad pick in OT where he wasn't even close to hitting Neighbors, led to a Cowboys game winner. Still, the offense was great. I mean, the final was 40-37. Russ managed to throw for 450 yards and 3 touchdowns. Neighbors had 167 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wan'Dale Robinson had 142 yards and a touchdown. Just a crazy offensive game, and they still lost. Then the Giants lost a snooze fest to the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football in week 3. Russ struggled, had 2 picks, only had 160 passing yards, an ugly 22-9 loss, and that kind of directly led to Russ getting benched for Jaxson Dart. There just couldn't be a very long leash on Russell Wilson. He was brought in to be the bridge, to help Dart learn, and he did his job. But at the end of the day, Brian Daboll needs to somehow save his job. He is clearly on thin ice after the last few seasons. A lot of people are shocked he's even still there. I am one of those people. But if he can get this to work with Dart and build a bond, there's a chance. The good news is that Jaxson Dart looks like he could be the guy, but it is going to be a lot harder now without Malik Neighbors.